Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. It's part two, just breaking down the entire spring and aftermath, if you will, as Texas concludes their spring practice, Orange White scrimmage. I'm here with the Unfiltered gang, Chris and Vashawn, and we're going to be focusing on the defense, and then we'll end with some portal talk. So, all things defense here, as our part one. You can go check that out. We'll have that linked. Is exclusively on the offense, all the storylines, positives, narratives, concerns, and a few surprises we had. But I want to jump right into this, guys. And I'm going to start with the defensive line. And this has actually been bolstered since the end of the game by the addition of Tro Carter, a defensive lineman, defensive tackle from Minnesota, previous honorable mention, Big Ten. One of my jug butts in there to plug the run, and guys that, help fill a need. But in terms of assessing this football team, I felt really good before the addition. And me personally, and it's an interior exterior conversation, right? In terms of what our rotation looks like in terms of the interior and what we look like rotation wise on the edge. I will say this from a standpoint of the fans that say, hey, why do we go and get a Tro Carter, Vashawn? Why do we go and get a Tro Carter, Chris? Guys, championship level depth. That's what you're trying to get to, right? It goes
That's
just
exactly
beyond
right.
deep. And you want to have, a situation where, you're loaded with talent and you also have enough talent to where you can play people a multitude of different ways. There's a lot of people in this conference. We're not just this spread it out conference anymore. A lot of people in this conference running the football. And a lot of things we're going to talk about are the positives in terms of the aggressiveness. And we have a lot of guys that can play three tech and get after the passer and defeat the guard and get after the quarterback. But we lost some guys in the draft, and we lost some guys that are really, really good against the run, and guys that play good sound and understand gap integrity, understanding leverage, things of that sort. So I feel as though this is a need that gets filled. But in regards to the spring game and what we saw in the practice, I was very encouraged with some growth from guys on the defensive line. I'm actually going to start on the outside with guys like a Ethan Burke, who I am seeing the physical there and the development with the body and the hand placement. I know some people are getting on him about the Jaden Blue touchdown run. We can get into the semantics there. Chris Ross playing on the edge. Buddy out of North Shore, right? And getting some reps there. So Justice Finkley getting after it and getting some action in there at edge. I thought Baron Sorrell had some really interesting battles against our starting tackles, and reps that, depending on how we're judging a spring game, that may or may not have been a sack. I want to kick it over to Vashawn just in terms of where your key takeaways in terms of our defensive line.
Man, I just want to start off saying, man, when I went back and rewatched the game, because when you're there live, you're kind of looking at the overall game. You're not really looking at particular position groups. But I went back and I started just looking at the trenches, and I hadn't finished yet. But man, right off the bat, ladies and gentlemen, Byron Murphy is a stud. I've been saying that for a couple years now, but man, what I see the way he took on double teams, and one time I saw it was a triple team on. It was all three interior linemen. He held his line. He just held his ground. That's all you can do. If you're getting triple teamed and double teamed, just not get moved out of the place. And it allowed Jalen Ford and number 43, can't think of his name right now, just to flow to the football with no lineman in their way. And man, I'm talking about that dude over and over again. And then when they did try to block him one on one, he, like you said, he blew by the lineman. It should have been a sack, but they didn't call it. Uh, Dude, I'm telling you, man, I am super impressed with Byron Murphy. He's a plugger. He's one of them fire hydrants. He's short, compact, thickly built. but I mean, super strong. I mean, the dude came in with what he had 16 credits out of high school, so we know he's smart. So man, I mean, just another great find. And he wasn't really highly touted. You know, his teammate was more highly touted. But I remember DT from the Football Brainiacs talked about it. He said, "Man, Texas, I'm telling y'all got a steal right here." And man, ever since he's been on campus, I believe it, and I'm happy to see. I'm looking. I'm really curious to see how he looks with more snaps. What kind of stats he's gonna put up, and really, he made
Good point.
everything better for everybody else on the defensive line because the one play where Collins blew by the center, Jake Majors, Murphy was taking on the double team. Murphy allows Tavondre Sweat to go one on one, which is Sweat's a pretty good pass rusher for a defensive tackle. He's going to allow Alfred Collins to go one on one, even a Vernon Broughton, even the new guy Trill Carter. Murphy is the dog that takes on the double teams, and for y'all really don't might not understand what goes on. Somebody has to take that double team. And what you want is somebody that can take it and stay with his pass low and can push back and not get moved out the pocket. That is what we have, ladies and gentlemen, with Byron Murphy. Man, I can go on and on and on, but we don't have enough time about it. I was just really impressed. And if anybody go back and look at the game, just take a look at the defensive line and watch number 90. Watch how he moves, how his hand placement is, his pad level, all of that, what you want in the defensive line.
This is really happy. But
Yeah.
one of the other things too is like we just finished talking about the concerns we had with our interior offensive line, and spring balls is a zero-sum game. I'm not gonna necessarily grade Neto in the most negative light because he lost a one-on-one to Byron Murphy, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Like at some point we got to look at and we'll get to the secondary later. Like Terrence Brooks gets defeated by Xavier Worthy. Like, well, I'm like, okay, well, who on an outbreaking route that's 20 yards downfield? Well, who should win that rep? Like in my mind, right? Like if it's a one-on-one scenario. So while we're offering critique on the offensive line, on the defensive side, it's like, well, we could also reverse the conversation if Neto, gets a stalemate against Byron Murphy. He doesn't get a push.
Yeah.
Now we're concerned about Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
it's the mental gymnastics with the spring.
Yep.
Chris, tell me what you saw with the D-line and some things that stood out to you in the spring game.
D-line, is like, I don't, like you guys were saying earlier on when people are saying, oh, we're good in the interior or whatever. Man, it's just like, from what I got from the game and what I've been getting in general, is that when Sweat and Murphy's in the game, we're fine. Any other variation, where anybody else is in. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's not consistency. Collins isn't consistent. Broughton isn't consistent. To give Murphy his flowers, I mean, wow. You watch these guys. That guy's so smart. And I was watching that press conference the other day, and just hearing that guy speak. I mean, the man is 6 feet, 300 pounds, stronger than you know what, has a neck tattoo. And like really literally walked into college with 60 college credits. Like literally, he pretty much walked in with his associates. I mean, probably is the most intelligent dude you'd ever be in the room. You know what I'm saying? And just, I remember him to give him his flowers. I remember last year they started moving Coburn around, and I guess they were putting Coburn and Murphy on the field together. And as I remember Coburn actually was a 3-tech a couple times, and I mean actually looked good rushing the passer. I mean, you could put anybody next to Murphy, and he's going to take up space. You're going to be able to do your job,
Mm-hmm.
But what I pretty much got from the spring is that in that game we need other guys. Like it's going to be hard to get guys in the portal that's going to want to come here right now because of the guys that we have here. But I think once Sweat's gone off the roster, once Collins has gone off the roster, Obviously, you're going to recruit guys that are going to come in, freshmen, but you're going to be able to get, guys in the portal that are going to want to come here because still, as much as we're complaining that, the backups aren't quite picking it up like we wanted as fast as we wanted, and we think we don't have enough young guys in the background like an Aaron Bryant. I think Aaron Bryant's going to be great. We just got to let him continue the season, and we got to remember this is the spring, man. Like there's a lot of time. There's a reason why. I mean, they literally just played that bowl game, 3 months ago. So I mean, it's just like there's time. We're just it's a snapshot of what's going on. It's not 100% facts, but I mean, I think the other guys behind Sweat and Murphy really, they need to be able to, be good to where like these Big 12 defensive coordinators are gonna try to keep you on the field. If they know that you have a defensive lineman, let's say Broughton was struggling at certain times, they're gonna go hurry up, and run plays just to keep a combination on the field. We got to make sure that our defensive linemen aren't one dimensional. Ant Hill's going to be great as a pass rusher. Everyone's talking about they're worried about him, but I mean, there's going to be situations where coordinator's going to go hurry up to try to keep a guy like that on the field, and try to get him in situations where he's covering a running back or something like that, and it's just, we need to make sure that players aren't one dimensional. We got to make sure that our young players, especially these defensive linemen, can do it all,
I mean, I do feel encouraged though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Alfred Collins is he's healthy. He wasn't really healthy last year until the end of the year. And I do disagree in terms of the consistency. Like I felt like by the end of the last year, I felt comfortable with Collins on the field in the rotation. That's just me personally. I think with Carter now coming in, I have 4 that I'm not worried interchangeably between Sweat, Murphy, Carter, Collins. Now, guys like Bryant, guys like Jure Bledsoe, and Vernon Broughton, those are actually really good high upside guys to have to give me X amount of snaps, right? Like I'm not asking you all of us, like to Chris's point, yes, you will have the coordinators out there that will see somebody run on the field and it's like, all right, like hurry up, right? But I do feel like we're getting to a point now where these people shouldn't be Jags out there. For those who don't know, Jag is term for just another guy, right? Like where we're or if you're a gamer, an NPC, a non-playable character, you just got these random people out here. Like we should be better than that. One young man that I loved the way he played was Sadir Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
I'm really Sadir Mitchell came out there and had 2 solo tackles on his own, right?
Yeah.
No backer help. Just threw it.
Hey, see, they teamed him up with Sweat, right? Because it was Murphy and Collins, and then I think on the other team, wasn't it Sadir Mitchell and Sweat? I like how they switched them up. Yeah, but he balled. Go ahead, brother, but
Yeah.
he balled. Number 9, yeah, 99. I
Yeah.
kept saying, who was that big dude? That's Sadir.
That was Sadir.
Yeah.
Sadir. I was like, man, Coburn got taller.
Yeah.
Hey.
I feel good about Sadir. Maybe I'm drinking a little bit more Kool-Aid about the defensive line because people are like, we need to hit the portal for guards and centers and stuff, and I'm like, well, isn't that kind of like the Eli's
It could
fault?
be our
Like,
defensive line.
I mean, it's one of those things. I do want to touch on the edge piece with Ant Hill.
Okay.
Because now we have now we're playing chess a little bit here. Now we have these people that you don't have a plan for Anthony Hill because I'm not sure Anthony Hill has a plan for himself. He's just out there to cause chaos.
That's it.
If you
That's
know
it.
what I mean.
Yeah. That's it.
The guy came in like Savion Red, God bless him, made a move to get back upfield. But like those are some of the things that he can just do sudden off the snap of the football that translate from what we saw at Denton Ryan right off the bat. And I think that changes a lot for the Texas defense. And when we start talking about some of the cool stuff that PK and Bo Davis will do in terms of stunts and trying to loop people and get them matched up on a guard and surprise, Anthony Hill's going to be the guy that's going to blow right between a guard tackle combination, right? Like,
Yep.
Where'd it go, right? Whose man was that? So I'm that's one guy I'm really encouraged by. How they've moved him around, because I think people kind of pictured him coming in as the traditional middle linebacker or playing in the middle next to Jalen Ford as we move on to the linebacker conversation. But Anthony Hill is going to be a player that plays kind of first, up front and second level, like depending, especially as he grows and they put more on his plate. Do you guys want to speak to Ant Hill or anything you saw there? Because I think
I got
somebody
some.
that's
I got some on it, man. So, I see a trend in college football going like a lot of defensive coordinators, and I even saw this with the Cowboys with Michael Parsons. Uh, they're starting to let athletes. When you're an athlete, they just say, "Hey, man, get out there and just go make plays." We saw that with LSU with Harold Perkins. LSU took that dude and just said, "Just go get the quarterback. Line up, go get the quarterback, make it simple." And he produced. You know what I'm saying? Because playing middle linebacker, I don't know, I played linebacker in high school. It's a lot of reading, reacting. You got to know what a guard's pulling, this and that. It's a lot to go into being a linebacker. But when you simplify, hey, man, just go get the quarterback, it's just all your natural instincts. Muschamp once famously said about Sergio Kendall, you don't have thoroughbreds running backwards. They go forward. That's who Anthony Hill reminds me of Sergio Kendall. Somebody that you just let him, I mean, for right now, you know what I'm saying, utilize his skill. Yeah, for right now, because we definitely want him to develop and maybe become a Jalen Ford, a Derrick Johnson, or something like that. But it's going to take some time, guys. The guy was a super athlete at Denton Ryan. He's still learning to play linebacker, so please temper the expectations of saying, "Oh, he's going to just jump in there and get it right off the bat, 130 tackles or whatever the case." It's going to take him some time from all reports that I read and what I've heard. But man, the dude is a terror off the edge. Let him go get the quarterback. I saw a movie put on Christian Jones. He hit the inside shoulder. Christian couldn't do anything with him because he was so quick. So I'm just glad that they're using him like that, because in the past we used to take square pegs and try to put a round hole in there and try to no, you got to be this traditional linebacker. No, right now utilizes this guy's athleticism, let him do what he's good at, and that's just run after the quarterback. Now you're gonna have some plays where he's gonna run himself out of the play. And I saw that one time he hit the edge and boom, he ran himself. He didn't set the edge, and the running back, I think it was Red, went right around him to the outside for about 15, 20 yards. So you're gonna get that with him, but hopefully by the time the season starts, man, he'll have that down pat. He'll be more controlled with his blitz. But other than that, man, I love how they use him. Instead of Michael Parsons, man, I'm a Redskin fan. I'm gonna say LeVar Arrington. We're gonna say use him like LeVar Arrington did.
Chris, we're gonna have to mute him.
Yeah.
That was too much there at the end. He was saying some good stuff. I was rocking with him.
I was with you too. You're preaching.
Yeah, he was spitting until he brought that nonsense up at the end. Before I get to Chris, I will say, Vashawn, beautiful hat you're wearing there.
Appreciate it.
He's rocking the all gas, no brakes, courtesy of our friends over at Last Stand Hats. Guys, hit up laststandhats.com/fanatic. Use that promo code Fanatic10. It gets you 10% off at checkout. 10% off all apparel, all merch, different sizes, golf polos, t-shirts, hats, the whole bit. Even the other schools, if you hear Scouting Texas, you over here. It's funny, on Twitter and social media, everybody loves to talk about the Texas spring game. But when I go and search your tweet history, you're barely talking about your own team spring game. So everybody's worried about the Texas spring game. So if you hear Scout in Texas and want to get the down low, hit up laststandhats.com/fanatic and use that promo code Fanatic10 for all of our Texas fans out there, whether they realize it or not. I want to stay on this conversation about linebacker, and you know what? I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. By the way, this is the Texas. I was holding it and not showing it. We still got. I know he was there this week because I saw him signing autographs. Darian Gillette was there, signing autographs, and
that's your boy,
Burrell.
Oh man!
Like, so one guy, like for me, I'll actually get to my guy in a little bit. Was Leona Leifau in terms of how he looked like he was playing the traditional linebacker position.
Yeah.
But look at this group of guys that are coming in and how many options Texas has. I can match up with you in a multitude of ways down the road with the Darian Gillette, with the Anthony Hill, with the Leona Leifau, with the Samaje Burrell. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Chris, I'm gonna pass it over to you, my brother.
Man, the one thing I got a question. So with Anthony Hill, I like what the staff is doing with him, immediately, not just putting him at linebacker. We're talking about positionless football on offense. It obviously should come on defense. But, man, whenever I see a guy like Anthony Hill and his body where it is now, or him walking in on campus to where a guy like Anthony Wheeler was, wouldn't it be great if Charlie Nim would have put Wheeler at defensive end or just a pass rusher, instead of just risking, he was solid at linebacker, but I think once the way the game changed.
Can I answer that real quick?
Go ahead,
Chris? And one day I'm gonna get shout out to Vance Bedford because we're gonna get Vance Bedford on to talk about this, and he can help answer this question. But shout out to Coach Bedford. I think that they hadn't realized at that point where football was fully going.
Yep.
And at the era that they came from, the middle linebackers, and I apologize for the deviation, but I couldn't resist answering this because that's a really good question Chris just asked. Middle linebackers used to look like Anthony Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to have different responsibilities than they are now. At that time, where Charlie and them came from, they think about even when he was at Florida, who was his middle linebacker? It was like Brandon Spikes.
Yeah.
That's what Anthony Wheeler looked like.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Those guys can't play football at middle linebacker. And even in 2016, 2017, we were already scaling back, right? We were already scaling back to hey, I need you to be able to carry this tight end. I need you to be able to carry this running back, down the field, right? And moving laterally and dealing with the quarterbacks and all that. So, yeah, those guys now, I think coaches across the board have realized those guys with those body types and that lateral movement, you got to go on the line. I mean, who was the young man that was here? Oh, man, he was from Missouri, and he was a middle linebacker, and we ended up moving him. I think it was it Delhi? I think it was Delhi that we ended up moving at the last minute down to defensive end. It was too late, right?
It was too late, yeah.
But Delhi was a guy. Delhi would have been a badass linebacker in 2005.
Yeah, because that's
100%.
Because Todd Orlando, just to touch on your point of what you said, I remember with Todd Orlando, I'll never forget this. When he got the DC job, he looked at Eric Fowler. He said, "That's my middle linebacker. I need a guy that's 250 pounds," because they still had that concept. You got to have a big, hulking middle linebacker that's going to be a gap plugger and all of that other stuff. Yeah. Like he said, to me, the ones that started making the transition at that time was Oklahoma State. They started coming with these matter of fact, it was GP. GP started putting 210 pound, 220 pound inside linebackers out there that can carry a tight end deep, that can cover out in the flats and still go inside and make the tackles. But you're right, man. Todd Orlando and I think Charlie Strong, they just hadn't fully at that time grasped what, especially the Big 12, was going to, and what you needed to do in the Big 12 to defend. They was looking for them big hulking middle linebackers, and man, you'll get exposed because they know how. I'll never forget West Virginia. they picked on one of our middle linebackers. They just isolated them and they just threw at him.
Isolation.
Yep.
And Anthony Wheeler still ended his career, I thought, as an underrated Texas player. I mean, especially the
Me too.
2017 season. But by the time, he was more of a situational run guy. It was like, hey, we're gonna come in. You're great against inside zone, sure, but everything else, like, we got to have Gary Johnson out here or somebody else out here. But anyway, Chris, I'll send it back to you. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Asked a great
No, you're fine. But here's the thing: you just answered my question as you guys are both talking. I was just kind of like, man, they're just really going to answer my question, so I'm going to let them finish first. Because here's what it is. Here's my thing. I think all these Texas coaches have kind of been behind times. Have been a couple of years behind times. I thought back then Charlie was a couple of years behind times. And you said, yeah, he comes from this culture where there's the 250-pound middle linebacker. Well, you know who else did? GP did too. And you know what he did? That man adjusted at the time. So, I mean, it's just there's just certain times. I mean, there's also not every defense had those. Like we were saying in the first video that we did, those Miami defenses back in the day, Hurricane defenses in the 90s, man, those linebackers were, for the times, they were kind of like what you look at right now,
Yeah.
And it's just like, it wasn't like, yeah, you would have Ray Lewis at like maybe 230 at the time, 235, but I mean, the rest of those guys were 215, 220, and it's just like, I just feel like Texas coaches, have just been a little behind market a little bit. Mac was always like that towards the end of the year, or towards the end of his career with the offenses. Oh, we're going to go to the spread. Oh, no, we're going to go to the power round. Oh, no, we're going to go back to the spread. I was just like, hey, man, like these poor quarterbacks, I mean, what are we? Even though we are having a defensive conversation right now, it's just like, I just feel like Texas coaches have kind of been behind the times. And I'm glad that this coaching staff has Anthony Hill at a spot. They're using his strengths to begin with. That previous staff, or who was it, Larry McDuff and Dwayne Aquina. That was the 1 year Aquina was co-coordinator. They had Sergio Kindle, and like Vashawn said earlier on, like when you asked Muschamp, you have that guy going towards the line of scrimmage. You have that guy attack. What do you have that guy dropping back? It was so sad in 2016 or 17, whatever his freshman year was, watching Sergio Kindle drop back and not know what he's doing. It was so good once a guy like Muschamp was in there, telling him, hey, man, you go attack that quarterback. You go – or I'm sorry, 2006 or 7. I almost said 7. I think.
I thought you said 2016.
Yeah, I meant 2006 or 7. I remember it was a 6 or 7. I said 16. Wow, my years, showing my age. But I think either 6 or 7, because it was Colts freshman or sophomore year,
you're right,
where he was out there.
Yeah,
and they had him, just dropping back. What's he doing out there? That dude should be rushing the passer 70-80% of the time. So I'm glad. I'm glad
Rashad Bobineau out there too, man. No, but I want to go back to something else you said about the staff. Leverage your resources, right? Like the connections and the net. Like I think Texas right now is just more connected than we've been in terms of like the Gary Patterson thing last year.
CDC, brother.
I've been. I've been the guy on this channel. I love the acquisition of Gary Patterson last year, and I think to some degree that's somebody that they can still call on the phone and talk ball with, right? It's not like he's, what's he doing right now? But I do think that when I talk about leveraging resources, Dan Quinn was somebody that Sark was very close with.
Yep.
And wanted to, before he took the job with the Dallas Cowboys, that was actually his first choice, if I'm not mistaken, to be the defensive coordinator here at Texas, was to give Dan Quinn that opportunity. And we've seen what Dan Quinn has gone on to do now in another role as defensive coordinator in the NFL, and, running 3 safeties with the Cowboys, running the Micah Parsons look at a hybrid. They've been bouncing stuff off of Dan Quinn. For those who don't know, like they still talk, right? Like Sark still goes offensively. He went and spent a week with McVay. They talk to Shanahan. They're not living in a bubble. Is what I think we're all saying here. That they've done in the past, where it's like Oh, I won natties like Charlie. Like I won natties as Florida DC, and I had all the success in SEC football, and that's how everybody plays football. No, it's understanding. Yo, the game's evolving. We got to have more hybrid plays. We got to have more positionless players. We got to have different ways to counter this type of attack, and bouncing ideas off of different minds and different coaches. Dan Quinn is very, very different from Gary Patterson. Use them both. Use them both. Right. So I really, really applaud them. Can we talk about our veterans? Because we're probably going to start. We have an All-American player in Jalen Ford. And we have David Benda, who is, for all intents and purposes, probably going to fill in that overshown role for us opposite. And we expect, the young boys to grow behind those two. We feel good there, fellas. Who wants to take this one in terms of the veteran backer play? I think we feel great there, right?
Chris, Jalen Ford, man, I saw a play. Now it could have been that he knew what was coming because y'all know when we at spring game,
they've seen the same play a million times.
Yeah, man, Jalen Ford, he read the play. He pretty much was in the back. So I think he hit Jake Majors, a guard, and he still made the play. That dude, I think he's going to have a man. I feel really good about Jalen Ford. I ain't got no concerns about Jalen Ford at all. A little bit maybe about Bender. I don't know who's going to take over Overshown's spot, but I did like what I saw out of Blackwell. He's a little slim, but he's 215. But that's what we just talked about. That's what Chris was just talking about, that positionless football that everybody's going to. Blackwell made some great tackles in space. He got out there.
He home at that position.
Yep. He was getting out there. He was covering guys. So I think he's going to me, more closer to Overshown. No knock on Bender. It's just I don't know if Bender has that lateral quickness to play that position. To me, Bender's more of a middle linebacker than a wheel linebacker. But I like Blackwell at the position. And then, like you say, the kid, the Hawaiian kid, man, he looks real good. I like them too. But we're just talking about veterans. Man, I think we're in very, very good hands, especially when you got Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat keeping the linebackers clean. All they have to do is just go run and tackle. Oh man, we should have a real good defense this year. Knock on wood. But and then Ryan Watts, the brother, smooth over there, the 6'3" brother, 6'2", whatever you want to call it. Seen him at T Black eating some barbecue with his latest. Hey man, what's up? What's up, Black? Ryan Watts. But anyway, I think he is he's going to be that boundary corner that you can count on over there. I don't know if you want to transition and talk a little bit about the secondary, but yeah, man, that's some guys that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, let's talk secondary. I just wanted to make one last point about Jalen Ford. I don't expect him to match the numbers he put up last year. That's going to be really hard.
Really hard.
Okay? I do think overall he can be a consistent, better football player, though.
Yeah,
I think that's two different things. It's hard, even in the NFL. You'll see guys that have a year where they have 6 or 7 picks, and then the next year they may have like 3 picks. But on film, you're like, that's a better – they played better. Like, it's overall better quality. Like, the picks didn't come, but people were avoiding him. His technique was better. He was more responsible. He didn't have any hiccups, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's where I'm at with Jalen Ford. Because one of the conversations I was having with my buddy Texas Homer was about right now there's a lot of draft talk, right? We're in full-blown end of draft season, getting everything together for next week when these young men hear their name called that are transitioning to the NFL. And you're hearing a lot of people start to knock Will Anderson. Like, that's become really cool to do, of Bama. And I think one of the reasons why is because he didn't put up the same statistical production that he did his junior year.
What do you have, like 18? How many sacks do you have his junior year? Like 18 sacks?
Like 16 or 17 sacks his junior year.
What?
And so it's like, I mean, I'm sorry, when I caught on the film, I still saw the same player. But it's one of those things where the numbers may not necessarily come. Now, as a little middle linebacker, though, where I can say, look at the film and say, with Jalen, all right, why did we come back to school? You could have gone and like, why did we come back? What are we trying to accomplish? What level can we go to this year? And I look at the film, and I'm like, wow, you clearly reading your keys even better. You're even sharper with baiting quarterbacks, understanding middle reads in the defense, lining people up. You're even better with your communication. You're even a more sound tackler. You're a better blitzer. There's certain things we can look at for him because it's like, yo, I want to challenge you at the highest level because you've already shown me a lot, brother. Like my grade for you, I'm grading you on a different scale than I'm grading everybody else because you came back for a reason. And so I just want to make that clear. While the stats might not be there, we gotta look at this from a standpoint of, are we becoming maximizing our gifts? Because Jalen Ford, the sky's the limit for him. With the secondary, you started with Watts at the boundary. On the field side, we had a newcomer in Gavin Holmes, and we have some young boys behind them, and Terrence Brooks and Malik Muhammad. What stood out to you? And that's at the corners. And then, the safety play, Jalen Catalan obviously was out for the spring and will be back, and we'll get to see him. Highly, highly regarded transfer from Arkansas. But between Bug Thompson, Keaton Crawford, who Vashawn spoke very highly of, and Vashawn really kind of talked about Keaton. But one guy that has come on after spring break, something clicked, and this person just did a 180 with their whole performance, was BJ Allen. I don't know if the light bulb come on, but I mean, when it went from, he's being, he's behind this guy and this guy and this guy, to when the school's posting highlights, BJ Allen's in all the clips and he's getting picks and he's knocking people out. And, Jaden Blue had to make a business decision because BJ Allen was coming. Like,
He
He didn't have to. He just did it.
Hey, that brother said, this is spring game.
Not today.
This is spring game, brother. I'll see you later.
I told people I do not blame Jadon Blue at all. Bro, it's a spring game. It ain't that serious. I'm not getting a clock.
Man, that should have just, he should have faked it and just took off running.
Yeah, Sark was like, he threw a hospital pass.
Yeah.
Anyway, Vashawn, I don't know if you wanted to or Chris or either one of you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Man,
secondary people.
I'll tell you what, like we were talking about, and we said this in the last video, was going to be interesting with the spring game, was seeing like how the secondary, the second string, I don't want to say second string, because I mean they could all be on the field at the same time at a package, on a dime package.
All of them.
Yeah. But how Brooks and Muhammad, those guys don't start. And those guys are just as important this season as I almost called the guy you're talking about Terry Blacks. I almost called him Ryan Blacks. Ryan Watts. They're just as important as Ryan Watts and Gavin Holmes, man. Like those guys are so good. They're so young. People don't realize how young Brooks is. That dude just started driving last year. Like literally, that dude was 17 years old in college. It's going to take that guy some time to get his just maturity wise to get caught up, let alone strength wise. But I'll say this, man, like that secondary, that Muhammad and Brooks, those guys, if those guys were our starters in 2021, we're not 5-7. We may be 7-5 with a young secondary, but we're not 5-7. I think the future is so bright there, man. Gavin Holmes is fast. Gavin Holmes is real fast. I think Deshaun Jameson gets a lot of the business because, his career didn't go the way he wanted. The guy was like returning. He was on special teams big time, and the guy won the Oklahoma State game for us. They took him off of special teams. They let him focus on, being a corner, but it's just like, he had 3 different, defensive back coaches while he was at Texas, maybe 4. So, I mean, he never reached his potential, man. But, I'm not comparing him and Gavin Holmes, but I thought Jameson was fast, man. That Gavin Holmes dude, wow. Like that guy is we need that kind of speed in the Big 12. We need that kind of speed in the SEC going in, you know? I mean, I love the secondary. I mean they're gonna be able to cover. You know, Muhammad is physical, you know. I mean, those guys are getting in X's business. You know, that's something to see. You know, when you have a veteran
Welcome
go ahead.
the matchup. They welcome the
Yes,
matchup.
yes, they're not afraid. No, no, not at all. I mean that's got to be a fun 7-on-7 or just 1-on-1 to watch with the quarterback. You know, I would love to just sit back and just watch that for 15, 20 minutes. You know, literally
I mean, look at our Dallas boys and Malik Muhammad
representing,
and Jonte Cook. They're,
representing 214.
they're talking every rep.
Ah,
Come on, man. The
wait till we
Sock
get
DeSoto
817
stuff.
Shamash Burrell in, man. I'm telling you, man, that 817 214 is taking over, sir. It's taking
Yo, they're
over.
placing bets mid route, man. Like they ain't
And
playing
Hill, and then
around.
we got that 817. I don't know if they nine. No, they didn't. Yeah, they 682 817. It's all in the same 45-minute. Yeah, we good, man. Metroplex representing.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the inside guys. Jadae Barron's one of the best players on the team.
Yeah,
playing that nickel for us, and it's critical in 2023 football. What he does for us in three different dimensions: coverage on the slot, run fits, because he can be an extra backer at times in terms of how the run fits play out. And Jadae Barron is very, very important to us as a blitzer. That nickel position is very, very critical. We went light with we did a couple nickel blitzes. Only really I saw to Quinn. I thought that was really where they tried to send any heaters like that. But these are guys too that we got to think about it. If we really start talking about getting versatile, these are people that they will corner blitz. I mean, biggest what if play of the year, Ryan Watts, perfect call, boundary blitz, and Bryce Young does Bryce Young stuff and gets away from it, right? Like those are things we got to consider with not just coverage, but these guys as football players and what they can do athletically in changing games, because they can go off the edge or help us against the run or on a blitz. And Gilbo, I believe, is recovering. And then Austin Jordan, another Denton Ryan guy, was all over the place. I think Austin Jordan had 8 or 9 tackles playing there. Vashawn, I think you had some thoughts on Malik Muhammad, though, that you wanted to touch on.
Well, man, like I said, Chris was talking about the secondary, man. I think we're in a good position, man. We got guys. When I noticed when they went to press man coverage, them brothers was doing their thing, man. You couldn't. I mean, I watched Malik. I watched Gavin Holmes when they both came in. They pressed our receivers. Hey, them brothers was handling their business. So, I don't know, man. It's just. I think they just did an exceptional job. Now, with playing off ball, they got some things they can work on. But I also think Terrence Brooks did a pretty good job too. For him to run down the field with Worthy, a lot of people say that was a pass that was PI. It may have been in the season, who knows? But for him to run down the field with Worthy, I mean, that was pretty good, But that's what I think our strength may be this year is our cornerbacks. Safety, I was kind of, even though BJ Allen got beat on that corner, dude, ain't nobody running with Worthy on that corner route. Nobody. I don't care who you are. I don't. Ed Reed might not be able to get over the top on that play because that's just a difficult play to get over on the top of. And Quinn placed the ball beautifully in the corner. So I'm not faulting BJ on that one. And he looked it. I mean, he looked it pretty decent, man. I liked him, man. Bug, veteran. We know what we're gonna get out of Bug. He might have not had the best tackling game, but we know what we're gonna get out of Bug. So, I'm not worried about him. I gotta go back and rewatch with my boy Keaton, I don't remember too many things. So I just, like I say, I went back and watched the trenches. Now I'm gonna go back and pay attention to the secondary. But overall, from what I saw, he was solid. He did his thing. But I don't know.
We'll see, man. Especially when if Catalan comes back, secondary might be a strength. It might be a strength, especially going up against our wide receivers. What we've been saying, guys, iron sharpens iron. You got that receiving core, and now you got our secondary. So hey, I think they take care of their business.
Jump in real quick, Chris.
And it's so weird, man. If you look at everybody on that defense or just on our whole team that are seniors or draft eligible, it took us this long. That we're talking about the defense and the secondary, and we talk about Jade Barron so late. I mean, that dude might be the highest drafted player, next year. Literally. Like that dude, if you look at that TCU game last year, like you cannot complete a screen on that dude. I mean, if I'm a slot receiver and a coach is like telling me, "Hey, we're going to run this receiver screen," I'm looking at this either this tackle or this tight
I
end
had
or
him
wide
all
receivers. Like, man,
conference
you better please keep him off me. Like, I mean, he's literally, if things go right, I mean, that dude might be I don't know, late first, early second, who knows? I mean, I hate to even talk like that on rounds and everything with Texas players, but I like what this staff is doing, like we said in the past, man, and I have confidence. Like, I have confidence that this, I mean, we can see it on the field, I mean, it's not like this guy was a big-time prospect, as a five-star safety, and he's getting drafted on a year that he had 2 or 3 years ago. This dude's done it. He's got progressively better every year on campus. Like Vashawn said, when he first laid eyes on campus, I've talked football with Vashawn every day. When he first saw Jade Barron, he goes, "Who is that guy? Who is that 23?" Like literally, like who, like just a small. I'm thinking to myself, dog, Vashawn, we watch a lot of college, a lot of horn football, but that dude hadn't played a whole lot of snaps, and you recognize him like that. And then, he got me looking at it. I was like, yeah, this dude, he is that dude. That is him. He is him.
Yeah.
Instincts. I always say Jade Barron has instincts like an Earl Thomas and an Ed Reed. You know how some guys got football awareness? You know how you guys play Madden and all that stuff, and you see that awareness thing, AWR? That's what he has, man, football awareness. Jade might not be the fastest, he might not be the biggest, but, man, his football awareness, when you throw that ball over to his side, he's on top of you.
He's going to be one of the best. Let me back up. I had Jade all conference last year.
Me too.
First. I want to move over to also let's not forget Derek Williams is still coming.
We forgot about him.
He's on his way, right? Like, so that's another person that gets thrown into the room. That again, like you said, like our scout team, our practices should be at a very high level on both sides at this point. Like there shouldn't be, even guys that aren't necessarily going to be contributing for 2023, they should be contributing during the week to help guys prepare each week. That's where it needs to get to, where we go into 2024 and it's like, yo, I know y'all didn't see so-and-so even play last year, but he a dog because we saw him every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like we need to start having those type of conversations again from a wide, a broad perspective across this program on both sides of the ball. That's when I really, really know Texas is where they should be yet again. Portal wise, so we do lose some guys, and there's going to be some more that leave, I suspect. But as of now, Jaden Alexis, I believe, is now, there was some stuff going on because he did play in the game. And as I told you guys, what a telltale sign is when the brother goes from number 13 to number 80, he's probably poor. So, and look, it's just more speaks to the depth of the room, how many guys are in there. A controversial one, Brennan Thompson. How do y'all feel about that? Because he had a commitment to track. He's a 10-2 guy. And he was from a smaller school where he was going to need a little bit more time to bake. I wrestle with that one, me personally, because I did not like the fact that they blew his red shirt the way they did last year. I didn't think that was necessarily fair. Like, if you're, I said this then. I said this during the Oklahoma State game when he comes in, he catches the screen and gets 30 yards, and then you never see the guy again. I'm like, yo, don't blow my red shirt to play me 2 snaps. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that,
I got
right? Like,
yeah.
go ahead, Chris.
Uh, it just me and my man Vashon has had this conversation over the last probably 72 to 96 hours. And man, I'll say this, Vashon, I don't know if you want to lead off or not, but I I'm with you, man. Like if you're here to play, like if you're on a 10-2 guy, if you're a 10-2 guy, I get it. If you're a track guy, if you have a track scholarship, I see you doing what Thompson did. But when you're a football guy and you're here on a football scholarship, like you got to be totally 100% here on football. Like it's you. There's so much more I want to say, and
We're gonna
about the
keep it classy.
situation. We're gonna keep it classy, but I hope that his next place that he's able to land. I pray that he's able to get his talent. I'll root for him until they play Texas. I'm gonna root for any kid. I don't want to see the
Except
kid.
OU. Don't go to
Yeah,
OU.
yeah. Don't go to OU and don't go to A&M neither.
That looks like that's
a possibility.
very, very much
Yeah.
in play. Yes.
But man, I think another thing though is that man, like a lot of these, man, I just wish sometimes us adults would let these kids just be kids, and let these kids like. I have no children. I'm a middle-aged man, no kids. I have God kids, and I just like anything that they do, man. I'm behind it. I'm gonna support it from afar. If I see something totally like I see that they could change, or I'll ask them about something. I'll do it vaguely, but I just don't like when adults or relatives get involved, too much, and it's just like you hear more from somebody's relative than you do a person's athletic ability, man. It's just and then the community, the fans get involved with it, and it's just like you commented on stuff like it's just like, man, you should leave this person's relative alone. Like you shouldn't be commenting on them. It just goes back and forth, and at the end of the day, the kid is just, I mean, I'm sure they see what's going on. It's just like, I wish the kid, look, man, I wish it could have happened. They brought in a lot of talent here, and it's just like I just felt like there was just always a distraction. There was always, just something else with him. Like, I mean, he was focused. You're focused not on the right spot. I mean, like I said, if you're a track guy playing football, that's one thing. But when you're a football playing track, you owe something to your guys in your two-a-days. It'd be different if you're playing baseball. You can go run off and go play a baseball game right quick and come right back. But I mean, there's a lot of dedication to track. I mean, and you can get hurt playing baseball. I mean, if you get hurt, I mean, that's on you still. I mean, it's just, that's my point on it. Being as vague as I could.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to be vague. I appreciate it, Chris.
Yeah.
And thank you for being polite on the channel. I like Miss Bonnie. I like Miss Bonnie Thompson, and I'm anybody that supports their child, their baby and everything. In all seriousness, that to me is, that's what we need more of that, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and
amen
again, and the way that people have come at her in particular, because she is very, very outgoing and very vocal and puts herself out there on social media. People with this announcement and even before last season, right? And being critical of certain things, being critical, like it's fair if we're talking ball. And Miss Bonnie, if you're out there listening, we're talking ball, right? We're not talking about anything personal. And if people are getting personal with her, it needs to stop. Even if they decide to go to OU, like, yeah, we're gonna be rooting against your son if he goes to OU, 100%. Like this is still serious level football, right? But mean to be, nasty or name calling or any of these sorts of things either, right? And so but I never really heard distractions from Brennan Thompson other than track. I think a lot of it is really about Miss Bonnie. And so it's just become a really interesting dynamic. And I think expectations should matter in his next decision, right? To Chris's point, are you here to play football? Are you on a football scholarship? Are you here to be this hybrid track guy and all this type of stuff? Because that's what held him back from really being on the football field. He could have helped us last year.
Yeah.
If the full commitment was there just dedicated to football. Now he did get sick and he got hurt at one point. Like there were several things that happened behind the scenes too, to be fair. But I want to leave it there. And, you know, I do wish him the best of luck. I wish her the best of luck. I hope she's able to find peace and people kind of, you know, again, we're talking ball, nothing beyond that.
That's it.
Travell, John. Oh, go ahead.
I said amen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Travell Johnson, and Derek Brown. Vashawn, I know you wanted to speak more towards their physical stature and the weight with those two. Go ahead, brother.
Well, like I say, usually I like to look at guys' weights when they come in and then see where they progress as their career goes on in the strength and conditioning program. And what I noticed with Brown, now if this is accurate, I seen he came in at 210. He was still 210 when he entered the portal, and he'd been there about a year and a half or so. The other young man, Travell, I think they had him listed around 199 or 198. So it just looks like they didn't really. I don't know if anybody was hurt or anything like that. You know, you hear a few little things, but you don't know. You know, you just hear he say. But to me, and it's just my opinion on the matter, I don't know. Man, when you come in, you got to hit that weight room. You got to hit that weight room. You got to put on the weight, and especially with Brown he was an outside linebacker. He wasn't even the inside, so he needed to get up around 240, 250, somewhere around in that range. You can play a little lighter. We just got through talking about that on the inside because you're covered up and you're just running in like a heat-seeking missile. But just looked like to me, the guys just never really put the weight on, and it could be for a whole bunch of reasons why that didn't happen. But other than that, man, I really wished them good luck. I have no ill feels. I'm all about a young man. For one, getting his education. Come in, get your education, man. It's free.
Yep.
And two, if you feel like you have been recruited over, you're not getting the playing time, hey, man, go ahead and hit the portal, see what happens. You know, that's today's game. You know, I don't get mad like a lot of fans get mad, and because guess why? You know why I don't get mad? Because we're gonna give 2 scholarships to somebody else. Ain't that right, Steve? And I'm gonna be applauding whoever them 2 scholarships
some
going
of those
to.
scholarships.
So I can't get mad at a guy for leaving Texas and we turn around and say, "Oh, we got us another one." So hey, man, 2 scholarships gone. We're gonna receive 2 back. That's the hey. What's the word? The portal give it, and the portal take it. That's it.
Well said. Fellas, thank y'all for coming on for this chat. And I also want to give a thank you to our second sponsor, Aura. Aura.com/fanatic. 14-day free trial going on at Aura. Official sponsor of the Minnesota Timberwolves as we are enjoying the NBA playoffs. Timberwolves probably not for long. We'll see. But Aura.com/fanatic. 14-day free trial. We're talking about the best all-in-one digital security services on the market, credit monitoring, VPN services, fraud prevention, fraud detection, identity protection, across the board, 24/7, white glove, security team, all of your needs. Guys, if you're trying to clean up your credit, if you're trying to protect your devices, you got kids, people going all over the internet, all these, we're browsing, people getting Sunday Ticket on YouTube, TV next year, and all these things. We want to make sure we're protected. So, Aura is a partner, people you want to partner up with. Thank you. Aura.com/fanatic. Check them out. And the QR code up there links you to the site, 14-day free trial. There's no reason why not to take advantage of that trial. Chris, Vashawn, Unfiltered Gang, thank y'all so much for joining. I appreciate you, brothers. And I'll have you on a little bit later, to talk more ball, of course. Horns always up.